Hello everyone and welcome to the fourth game in my Mighty Empires campaign. This game I played against a Saurian Ancients player and we had a small game at 2000 points. So here is my army for that. It's quite small and I decided to go for a fluffy peasant army for this one here. So you can see I've got 3 units of 5 yeomen, 2 trebuchets, 2 units of bowmen, a big horde of peasants with the sacred reliquary, 30 peasants with halberds. I have 4 damsels, one of which is the Grail damsel who was my general, 2 castellans and a questing oath paladin. In my opponent's list, he took a Quaddle Lord as his general BSB with the all 8 signature spells, Saurian veteran on a Carnosaur, Skink Priest, some Saurian warriors, Skink Brave for his core, and for special he took some Raptor Riders, some Ramphidon Riders, the Temple Guard for the Slan, and a Thyrus Udis. And here is a quick overview of deployment. We were playing the flank attack deployment, so there's an attacker and a defender deployment zones. It was quite a difficult one to measure out, but I think we got it right. So he's basically got a central core and he's got a flanking Carnosaur and Raptor Riders. And on my side, I put my yeomen on the flanks, the 2 bowmen and trebuchets on the flanks, and all of my peasants in the center. So that I don't know if you can see it, the big building there was very annoying for this game. So Saurian Ancients had the first turn, and he doesn't charge anything, but he just flies up right in my face with the Ramphidons, and just moves everything up on the flanks there and in the center, getting into a nice position to charge. He's got the movement totem on the Saurians, so they're moving quite fast, 10-inch march for them. To the magic phase now. The only spell that he manages to get off is the Blizzard spell on my archers on my left, and I managed to stop everything else. I think he tries to throw a fireball or something like that. And moving on to the Peasants of Equitaine, turn 1. I just shuffle everything around. Move my fast cav up to block some charges. In my magic phase, I basically throw everything at the Carnosaur, so I do Swarm of Insects and a Thunderbolt. I get them both through, but he manages to save all of the wounds, which is a bit disappointing. But then I go ahead and shoot with my peasants. Comes, and the peasants deal 2 wounds to the Carnosaur, which is hilarious. My other archers on the left there did 1 wound to one of the Ramphidons. And I think that brings us to Saurian Ancients turn 2. He charges my yeoman with the Raptor Riders, he charges my bowman with the Carnosaur. I stand and shoot and deal 1 wound, which is hilarious. And he charges the warriors into the yeoman and just moves everything else up. In his magic phase, I think I stop everything except for a burning brightness on my yeoman unit, and he kills 3 of them, but they manage to pass their panic test. So now he starts shooting, I believe, at my main peasant block with his javelins and short bows. So even after all of that, I think he only kills 1 of my peasants. Moving now to combat, he completely annihilates the yeoman up on the top there, and just reforms to face the rest of my lines. And with the Carnosaur, he kills a few bowmen. I get my attacks back, and I almost scrape through the last wound to kill him. But not quite, so of course I auto break and flee, and he overruns into my trebuchet. Oh well, just peasants. With the Ramphidons, they had selected these bowmen as their prey target, so they're getting heaps of extra attacks, they're frenzy, they got hatred, but they only managed to kill 5. And I attack back, and I deal 3 wounds, which takes out 2 of his Ramphidons, because I did 1 before. I lose, but I stay, and I just reform to have some ranks. And now onto the Saurian warriors, of course. I think I killed one with one of my yeomen, and he just wipes the rest of them out and overruns into my other unit. So we're now on to my second turn, and I just shuffle everything around and just reposition to hopefully face the Carnosaur, which is going to be flanking me next turn. In the magic phase, I do Swarm of Insects on his unit of warriors. I think I killed one of them. Oh well, but my attribute from that moves my halberds back a little bit further. I then managed to cast the Blessing of Amhar on my horde and put the shield token on the trebuchet just in case. The other trebuchet misses the Thyroscutus, kills the skink I think. Into combat, I think he kills one or two bowmen, but in the end it was a bit of a stalemate, nothing happens. And the warriors completely kill off the yeoman and reform to face my bowman again. And in the Carnosaur versus Treb contest, of course the Carnosaur kills my trebuchet, wipes them out, and then reforms to face the flank of my peasant horde. And of course in his turn, the Carnosaur charges into the flank, but the warriors fail their charge onto the bowman in the woods, and the other unit of warriors makes it into the front of my peasant horde, and everything else just moves up. In the magic phase, I don't think much happens. Short bows don't really do anything either. So now we're moving on to the combat with the horde. So he does his impact attacks. I think he kills maybe one or two. There's two sitting there. And my peasants on the flank attack back and manage to kill the Carnosaur, which I was incredibly amazed at. Attacking the Saurians, I think I kill another one or two. In the end, he loses combat by 2, but sticks around. And I just reform to fit later. In the combat with the bowman, nothing happens. Now we are on my turn 3. I choose not to try and charge the raptors, I just reverse a little bit and face them. In my magic phase, I managed to get the Blessing of Amhar again, which is really useful. And my trebuchet fires at the Thyroscutus and does 3 wounds. In the combat here, I lose a few bowmen, but I managed to clear out the remaining Ramphidon. And in my combat with the Saurus, I kill quite a lot of them. I think there's only 8 of them left, and they run away, but I choose to reform. Turns out that they only ran 2 inches, so I definitely would have caught them if I tried to chase them. Of course, in his turn 4, the Thyroscutus and the warriors hit my archers, but his raptors fail a charge against my peasants, which is hilarious. And he manages to rally his Saurus warriors. I managed to stop all the magic that he does, I'm pretty sure. I think he tried a fireball or something like that. And his shooting as well. He shoots at my big horde. That doesn't do anything either. In combat here, I think I kill one Saurus, but of course it's not enough. He kills everything except for my damsel. She flees and is chased down by the Thyroscutus, but they don't overrun into the trebuchet. And a quick transition to my turn. I make a nice long charge onto the Raptor Riders, and of course I charge the Saurus Warriors that just rallied. In the magic phase, I managed to cast Monstrous Transformation and Wild Form on the Halberd unit, so the Castellan's now a dragon. And that's about all I got off, I think. In the shooting phase, the trebuchet shoots the skinks and misses. And this is where my camera ran out of battery, so in the combat, my breath weapon killed one Raptor Rider and the unit kills another 1 or 2. He stays. I didn't lose many from that unit either in return. And the horde wipes out the remaining warriors that were there and reforms to face the camera to try and deal with the other unit of warriors, the Thyroscutus and possibly the skinks in the next turn. And now the camera is back, so in his turn he charged into the trebuchet with the warriors and Thyroscutus and moved the skinks up to block my other units. His magic phase, he manages to lower the movement of my horde unit by 3. He 5 dices a fireball but fails by 1, which is unfortunate. The javelins kill some peasants. And then in the combat phase, I think. Yep, so I think I kill enough of them so that there's 2 or 3 raptors left. He doesn't kill many peasants in return, but he stays around. And in the combat with the trebuchet, I had to work out what could be sent in to kill it. But eventually, of course, the Saurus warriors wipe out my peasant trebuchet crew. And they both reform to face my horde as well. My turn, of course, I charge the skinks that are right in front of my face. In my magic phase, I get up the Blessing of Amhar again, and then I do a boosted Guiding Hand, which gives my units +2 movement, weapon skill, ballistic skill, and initiative, so I'm fighting before these skinks, and with my impact attacks and all of that, I completely wipe them out and overrun into his Saurus warriors. And I forgot to mention that my halberds took out the remaining raptor riders and reformed. In his turn, he charges skinks everything into my main horde unit, but he fails the charge with the temple guard. Oh dear. He manages to cast monstrous transformation on his skink priest for the dragon. My initiative's higher, so I kill a whole bunch of skinks before he can attack. I fail to kill the Thyriscutus with my questing paladin, and I kill 1 or 2 Saurus. The breath weapon doesn't really do much. He doesn't really kill many of my horde because I've got the Blessing of Amhar up, which is just amazing in this kind of horde peasant capacity, because it's giving me a 4-up ward against the Thyriscutus and 5-up ward against everything else really. His Saurus warriors run away from the combat, and in my turn I make a last ditch charge with the halberds in, but they fail. I get the Blessing of Amhar and Guiding Hand again on my units. I finally kill the Thyriscutus with my questing champion, my questing knight paladin, and the rest of my unit kills a lot of skinks, enough for them to run away, and I don't manage to catch them, so they get away. And sorry about the light for that final part. So here is the breakdown of what was killed by each army. So in the end, it turned out there was a difference in victory points of 661, which was a 33% victory to the peasants of Aquitaine. Thanks again for watching, everyone. It's great to have your support on these videos. I'll be bringing another video in the next week or two detailing the end of this campaign round, you know, who fought who won, and what the outcomes were. If you want to catch me on the 9th Age forum, if you're not linked from there, my forum name is Karanadon, and it'd be great to hear from you guys. So like, subscribe, leave a comment what you'd want to see in the future, and cheers, see you guys later.